take a slow breath in and gently let it go. Before we begin, remember, this video is not meant to rush you, teach you, or keep you alert. It's designed to slow your thoughts, relax your body, and gently guide your mind into a calmer, quieter state. If at any moment you feel sleepy, that's perfectly okay. You don't need to stay awake till the end. Tonight's story is called Why Ancient People Slept Sitting Up. And it worked. And before we begin, take a second to notice where you are right now. Are you watching this from your bed, your couch, a chair, or maybe somewhere unexpected? Let me know in the comments where you're watching from tonight. Now, let's begin. Tonight, I want you to imagine something strange. Not a place, not a sound, but a posture. Imagine falling asleep without lying down. No mattress, no pillow, no soft bed waiting for you. Just your body, slightly upright, leaning against stone, wood, or earth. For most of us today, that sounds uncomfortable, almost impossible. We associate sleep with softness, with sinking, with lying flat. But for most of human history, sleep looked very different. And what may surprise you is this. Sleeping upright was not a last resort. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't torture. For millions of people across centuries, across continents, it was normal. It worked. To understand why, we need to slowly unlearn what modern sleep has taught us. Because our idea of proper sleep is incredibly new. Beds, as we know them, are a recent invention. Mattresses filled with foam, springs, or air did not exist for most of humanity. And pillows, the soft kind that cradle the neck, were once considered dangerous, even unhealthy. In ancient societies, lying completely flat was often avoided, not because people didn't know how to rest, but because lying flat meant vulnerability. When the world around you is unpredictable, sleep becomes a careful act. Wild animals, cold ground, insects, thieves, sudden attacks. In many ancient cultures, sleep was not about comfort. It was about survival. Sleeping slightly upright allowed the body to rest while remaining responsive. The heart rate stayed steady. Breathing remained shallow but controlled. Muscles never fully collapsed. This created a unique state of rest, not fully awake, not deeply unconscious. A gentle, hovering sleep. Modern science would later describe this as light sleep or transitional sleep stages. But ancient people didn't name it. They didn't need to. Their bodies understood it instinctively. Travellers would sit against walls, monks leaned against wooden frames, night guards rested on stools, sailors slept braced against ship structures, villagers paused along roads, leaning against trees or stone markers, and something remarkable happened. Their bodies adapted, necks became stronger, spines learned balance, muscles relaxed without collapsing inward. They didn't rely on pillows because posture itself became the support. And unlike modern sleepers, they didn't remain frozen all night. They shifted, slowly, instinctively. A lean to the left, a small adjustment forward, then right. Micro movements that happened without waking the mind. These movements kept blood flowing, prevented numbness, reduced stiffness. Ironically, our modern beds, designed for comfort, often lock us into stillness. We sink, we stop moving, and the body stiffens over time. Ancient sleep was not about softness, it was about alignment, and alignment came from listening to the environment, the temperature, the surface, the sounds, the light. Sleep was flexible, and here's where things get even more interesting. Ancient people did not sleep once per night. They slept in segments. A first sleep, then a period of quiet wakefulness, then a second sleep. Sleeping upright often happened during these in-between moments. Short rests, half sleep, intentional pauses. The idea of 8 uninterrupted hours is a modern expectation. Ancient sleep was rhythmic. It flowed with darkness, firelight, and safety. And in that rhythm, sleeping upright made sense. It allowed rest without surrender, comfort without danger. This posture also affected breathing. Sitting slightly upright kept airways open. Snoring was reduced. Breathing felt easier. Many people today unknowingly rediscover this when they fall asleep in chairs, on planes, or leaning against walls. They wake up surprised, thinking they slept poorly. But their body experienced a form of ancient rest, not deep, but restorative. And slowly, over generations, this knowledge faded. Beds became symbols of status. Lying flat became associated with luxury. Upright sleep became strange. By the time modern medicine arrived, ancient sleep wisdom was mostly forgotten. But the body remembers. That's why some people sleep better with raised headboards, recliners, inclined positions. They're unknowingly echoing the past, and this is just the beginning. Because sleeping upright was only one part of a much larger system. A system built on cycles, timing, and environment. That larger system was built around time, not clock time, not schedules, not alarms, but natural time, darkness, silence, firelight fading. To truly understand why ancient people slept sitting up, we have to understand how they slept at night, because they did not sleep the way we do. Today we expect sleep to be one long event. We lie down, we close our eyes, and we hope not to wake up again until morning. But for most of human history, sleep did not work like that. Ancient people did not sleep once per night. They slept in segments. A first sleep, followed by a quiet waking period, and then a second sleep. This rhythm was so common, so natural, that no one questioned it. Waking in the middle of the night was not a problem. It was part of the system. And this is where sleeping upright begins to make even more sense. During that quiet waking period, people did not fully return to deep rest. They sat, they leaned, they rested without surrendering completely to sleep. Upright posture kept the body calm but alert, the mind soft but aware. This was not accidental. It was adaptive. And slowly, generation after generation, the human body learned to thrive in this rhythm. But now, we need to talk about something just as important, where the body rested. Because posture alone does not explain how sleeping upright actually worked. The surface mattered, what ancient people leaned against, what they rested on, and why those surfaces were often hard, cold, and unforgiving. To the modern mind, this sounds uncomfortable. We've been taught that softness equals rest, that the softer the surface, the better the sleep. But ancient people learned something different. They learned that support matters more than softness. In a world without mattresses, the ground was the first bed. Stone floors, packed earth, wooden platforms, boat decks, church benches, cave walls. These surfaces did not conform to the body conformed to them, and slowly, over time, the human musculoskeletal system adapted. Bones aligned themselves naturally. Muscles learned when to engage and when to release. Instead of collapsing into softness, the body balanced itself. This balance is the key. When you sit or lean against a firm surface, your skeleton does much of the work. The muscles don't need to tense constantly. They hold just enough tone to keep you upright. This creates a state of low-effort stability. Modern furniture often removes this. Soft chairs force muscles to work harder. Soft beds allow joints to sink unevenly. Ancient surfaces did the opposite. They encouraged alignment. This is why sleeping upright against stone or wood did not result in constant pain. The body learned to rest with gravity, not fight against it. And this wasn't something people trained for consciously. It happened naturally, starting in childhood. Children grew up sitting on the ground, leaning against walls, resting wherever they were. Their spines developed strength and flexibility. By adulthood, sleeping upright felt normal. And there was another advantage. Hard surfaces provided clear sensory feedback. The nervous system could feel exactly where the body was. This reduced unconscious tension. On soft surfaces, the body keeps searching for stability. It shifts, it tightens, it micro-adjusts without rest. Ancient people experienced fewer of these conflicts. The surface told the body, "You're supported, stay here." This clarity allowed light sleep to feel restorative, and this mattered deeply during upright rest, because sitting sleep relies on balance. If the surface shifts too much, the body wakes. But against stone, wood, or earth, there was consistency, and consistency calmed the nervous system. This is why monks could sleep on benches, why guards rested on stools, why sailors slept braced against beams. The environment held them. Another forgotten detail is temperature. Ancient sleeping surfaces were often cool. Stone holds cold, earth draws heat away, wood stays neutral. This cooling effect mattered. A slightly cooler body enters rest more easily. Modern mattresses trap heat. Ancient surfaces released it. Sitting upright also exposed more of the body to air. This prevented overheating. Sleep was lighter, but steadier. And then there's the question of pillows, or rather, the lack of them. Most ancient cultures did not use pillows the way we do today. Some used small wooden headrests. Others used folded cloths. Many used nothing at all. The neck was not meant to collapse forward. Instead, posture supported the head. When sitting slightly upright, the spine naturally stacks. The head rests over the shoulders. No pillow needed. This is one reason upright sleep worked better in ancient environments than it often does today. Modern people try to sit sleep with weak postural muscles and soft furniture. Ancient people had the opposite conditions: strong posture, firm surfaces, calm environments. And there's one more piece most people never consider: movement. Ancient sleepers did not stay still. They shifted constantly, but slowly. These micro-movements were not conscious. They happened within light sleep. A slight lean forward, a shoulder adjustment, a head tilt. These movements prevented stiffness. They kept circulation flowing. And because the body was not deeply unconscious, it could respond before pain developed. Modern deep sleep often traps us. We don't move enough. Ancient light sleep kept the body engaged. And this brings us to something important. Ancient people did not chase deep sleep. They did not aim for unconsciousness. They aimed for restoration. Rest was layered, short rests, light sleep, deep sleep later. Sleeping upright belonged to those lighter layers. It wasn't meant to replace deep rest. It complemented it. And when combined with segmented sleep, the system became incredibly efficient. First sleep restored the body deeply. Upright rest maintained balance. Second sleep refreshed the mind. No single position did all the work, and that's why it worked. Modern sleep culture tries to force everything into one posture, one surface, one block of time. Ancient sleep allowed variation, and variation reduced strain. Now here's the part that feels surprising. Many people today accidentally rediscover this. They fall asleep on couches, on chairs, against walls. They wake up confused, thinking they slept badly. But often, their body feels strangely refreshed. Not fully rested, but not exhausted either. That's upright rest doing its job. It's not meant to replace bed sleep. It's meant to support it. Ancient people understood this intuitively. They didn't judge sleep. They used it. And slowly, as beds became symbols of comfort and status, this understanding faded. Upright sleep became associated with poverty, with hardship, with lack. But historically, it was associated with wisdom. Monks practiced it intentionally. Guards relied on it. Travelers survived because of it. It kept people safe, alert, and rested enough. By now, we've seen how posture mattered, how surface mattered, how movement and rhythm shaped rest. But there was something even more important than how ancient people slept. Something invisible, something we rarely talk about. The mind. Because sleep is not only a physical act, it is a psychological one. And ancient people approached sleep very differently than we do today. They did not fear it, they did not chase it, they did not measure it. Sleep was not something to achieve. It was something that happened when the conditions were right. And this mindset changed everything. Today, many people lie down already anxious. They wonder how long it will take to fall asleep. They calculate how many hours they'll get. They worry about how they'll feel tomorrow. This tension activates the nervous system. The body prepares for effort, not rest. Ancient people didn't think this way. They didn't go to sleep expecting a result. They went to rest. If sleep came, it came. If it didn't, that was fine too. This acceptance allowed the mind to soften, and a soft mind allows the body to rest in many different positions, including upright. Sleeping upright requires trust. Trust that the body will not collapse. Trust that the world is quiet enough. Trust that waking is not a failure. Ancient life, paradoxically, made this easier. Life was harder, but expectations were lower. No alarms, no deadlines at dawn for most people, no screens reminding them of time passing. Night was night. Darkness meant slowing down. Firelight faded, voices lowered, movement reduced, the nervous system followed. This mental environment made light sleep restorative. Modern humans often struggle with upright rest because their minds remain active. Thoughts race. Concerns surface. The body never fully lets go. Ancient minds did not carry this burden. Another key difference was how ancient people viewed waking. Waking at night did not mean something was wrong. It did not trigger worry. It did not start a spiral of thought. It was neutral, sometimes even meaningful. Many cultures believed the middle of the night was a quiet, reflective time. A time when thoughts were clearer, dreams lingered, insights arrived. People used this time gently. They prayed, they thought, they talked softly, or they simply sat in stillness, often upright. This peaceful wakefulness prevented frustration, and frustration is one of the biggest enemies of sleep. Today, when people wake at night, they try to force sleep back. They tense, they scroll, they calculate. Ancient people did none of this. They allowed the rhythm, and because they allowed it, sleep returned naturally. This mental flexibility is one reason upright sleep worked so well. Upright rest does not promise deep unconsciousness. It offers calm awareness. If the mind accepts that state, the body relaxes into it. If the mind resists, the body stays tense. Ancient people accepted it. They did not demand more. And then there's fear. Modern sleep is deeply entangled with fear. Fear of being tired, fear of not functioning, fear of bad sleep. Ancient people lived with danger daily. And because danger was constant, sleep was not idealized. It was practical. You slept when you could. You rested how you could. Upright sleeping made sense because it balanced rest and readiness. The mind felt safer, and safety is the foundation of sleep. This is why many people today sleep better in recliners during illness, or fall asleep sitting up while travelling. The body feels supported but not exposed. The mind relaxes. Ancient people lived in this state often. Their sleep was lighter but less anxious, and that reduced fatigue. Another forgotten element is storytelling. Before books, before screens, before headphones, stories were told at night, quietly, slowly, often while people rested upright. Stories gave the mind something gentle to follow, not stimulation, not excitement, but continuity. This eased the transition into sleep. Modern nightmares mimic this unknowingly. Ancient people lived it, and posture mattered here too. Sitting upright while listening kept the body relaxed without sinking into full unconsciousness too fast. Sleep arrived naturally. Now consider this. Ancient people did not label sleep positions. They didn't say, "This is the correct way to sleep." They used whatever worked. Flexibility reduced stress. Modern sleep culture is rigid. Back sleeping, side sleeping, 8 hours, dark room, perfect silence. When these conditions aren't met, anxiety rises. Ancient sleep had no checklist, and that freedom allowed upright sleeping to be just another option. Not strange, not inferior, just different. And this mental openness extended to the body. Ancient people trusted discomfort. They didn't panic at slight strain. They adjusted slowly. They listened. Their pain threshold was different, not because they were tougher, but because they were familiar with variation. Modern bodies expect consistency. Ancient bodies expected change, and upright sleep thrives on adaptability. Now here's a subtle but powerful idea. Ancient people did not separate rest from life. Rest happened throughout the day. Short pauses, leaning, sitting quietly. Sleep was not the only time the body recovered. Upright rest was everywhere. This reduced pressure on nighttime sleep. And when pressure disappears, sleep improves. Modern humans place all recovery into one window, night. That makes sleep fragile. Ancient sleep was resilient, and upright sleeping was part of that resilience. It allowed rest in imperfect conditions, and because it worked often, people trusted it. Trust reduced anxiety. Anxiety-free sleep is powerful. We need to talk about something just as important. Other people. Because ancient sleep was rarely a private act. Most people did not sleep alone. They did not have separate bedrooms. They did not isolate themselves at night. Sleep happened in shared spaces. Families slept together. Travellers slept side by side. Monks rested in rows. Soldiers slept in groups. Sailors slept shoulder to shoulder. And in these environments, sleeping upright wasn't just convenient. It was necessary. When many people share a space, lying flat becomes difficult. There isn't always enough room. Movement disturbs others. Safety becomes a shared concern. Sleeping upright solved these problems. It reduced how much space each person needed. It allowed quick movement if necessary. It made shared rest possible. In longhouses, people leaned against walls or posts. In monasteries, benches lined the halls. In ships, sleep happened braced against beams. In inns and roadside shelters, travellers rested sitting, backs to stone. This wasn't considered poor sleep. It was communal sleep, and humans are deeply social sleepers. Even today, many people sleep better knowing someone else is nearby. Ancient people experienced this constantly. Sleeping upright kept the body present. You could feel movement, hear breathing, sense changes. This created a quiet awareness. Not fear, not tension, but connection. Communal sleep reduced anxiety, and reduced anxiety improves rest. Another benefit of upright sleeping in groups was temperature regulation. Bodies generate heat. When many people lie flat together, heat builds up. Sitting upright allows air to circulate. This kept people cooler and more comfortable. Again, ancient sleep was not about softness. It was about balance. Balance between comfort and awareness, between rest and readiness. And in shared spaces, upright sleep allowed that balance. There's also something subtle here. When people sleep upright together, sleep becomes lighter. But lighter sleep is not worse sleep. In fact, it can be more restorative in social environments. The nervous system remains calm because it does not feel isolated. Isolation triggers vigilance. Connection reduces it. Modern humans often sleep alone, behind closed doors, in silence. This can feel peaceful, but it can also make the mind more alert. Ancient people slept with sound, breathing, shifting, soft voices. These sounds were not disturbances, they were reassurance, and upright sleep allowed people to remain part of the group even while resting. Another overlooked detail is hierarchy. In many ancient societies, sleeping positions reflected roles. Guards slept upright. Elders rested seated. Monks sat. These roles required awareness. Sleeping upright allowed rest without abandoning responsibility. This wasn't exhaustion. It was intelligent rest. And because these practices were common, the body adapted early. Children grew up watching adults sleep this way. They learned by example. There was no confusion, no resistance. It felt normal. Modern people often struggle with upright sleep because it feels unfamiliar. Unfamiliarity creates tension. Ancient familiarity created ease. And this familiarity extended beyond nighttime. Daytime rest often happened sitting. Short pauses, leaning breaks, moments of stillness. The body never fully shut down during the day, so nighttime sleep didn't need to do everything. This reduced pressure, and reduced pressure improves sleep quality. There's something else modern culture forgets. Ancient people did not separate sleep from death imagery. Today, lying flat resembles stillness, silence, immobility. For some nervous systems, this triggers discomfort. Upright posture feels more alive, more present. Ancient cultures were comfortable with this. They slept in positions that allowed breath to flow freely. This made sleep feel safe, and safety is essential. Now think about public spaces, markets, churches, meeting halls. People often rested there too, leaning against pillars, sitting on steps. Upright rest allowed sleep anywhere. This adaptability was powerful. The body didn't panic without a bed. It rested when possible. Modern sleep culture has removed this skill. We tell ourselves we can only sleep in beds, only in darkness, only with silence. Ancient people didn't have these rules, and upright sleep thrived in that freedom. Another interesting point is that communal sleep reduced nightmares. When others are nearby, the mind feels protected. Dreams are less intense. Upright sleep keeps dreams lighter. Ancient dreams were often brief and symbolic, not overwhelming. This protected mental health, and over generations this mattered. Sleep supported life, not performance. And now, we arrive at a quiet realization. Ancient sleep was integrated into community. Modern sleep is isolated. Ancient rest was flexible. Modern rest is rigid. Upright sleep belonged to a world where humans rested together, and when that world changed, upright sleep faded. Beds separated us. Rooms isolated us. Schedules compressed us, but the body still remembers. That's why some people feel calmer sleeping on couches, or in recliners, or leaning slightly upright. It feels social, even when alone. By now we've explored posture, surface, mindset, and community. But there was another powerful force quietly shaping ancient sleep: danger. Because for most of human history, night was not safe. Darkness did not mean peace. It meant uncertainty. Animals moved under cover of night. Strangers approached unseen. Weather could change suddenly. Fire could fail. In this world, sleep was never fully surrendered, and this is where sleeping upright reveals one of its most important purposes: safety. When you lie completely flat, your body enters vulnerability. Your vision disappears. Your reaction time slows. Your ability to move quickly is reduced. Ancient people understood this instinctively. Sleeping upright kept the body ready, not tense, not alarmed, just responsive. The spine stayed engaged. The neck remained balanced. The legs could move instantly. If danger appeared, there was no struggle to rise. The body was already halfway there. This mattered deeply for guards, travellers, and watchmen. Night guards rarely slept lying down. They leaned, they sat, they rested lightly. Their role demanded awareness, but exhaustion demanded rest. Upright sleep was the compromise. It allowed recovery without abandoning responsibility. And this pattern extended beyond guards. Parents slept upright near children. Elders rested seated near fires. Travellers slept braced against walls. Everyone needed to be able to respond, and over generations this shaped the nervous system. Ancient nervous systems were trained for balance, not constant alertness, not full shutdown, but something in between. Modern science now calls this a parasympathetic dominant state with vigilance. Ancient people didn't name it, they lived it, and this state allowed light sleep to feel restorative. The body rested while the mind stayed gently aware. Now think about modern sleep. We try to remove all awareness, dark rooms, silence, earplugs, masks. We aim to disappear into sleep. But some nervous systems resist this. They feel unsafe when awareness disappears. That's why some people sleep better with lights on, with sound, with a raised posture. Their body is asking for safety. Ancient people designed sleep around that need. Sleeping upright satisfied it. Another overlooked detail is how danger-shaped dreams. Deep sleep often produces intense dreams. Light sleep produces gentler imagery. Ancient people experienced fewer overwhelming nightmares. Their dreams were shorter, fragmented, symbolic. This reduced emotional fatigue. Sleeping upright limited how deep the body fell. This protected the mind, and this was especially important in a world filled with daily stressors. Modern people often wake exhausted not because they didn't sleep, but because their sleep was emotionally intense. Ancient sleep was emotionally lighter, and posture played a role. Another factor was the unpredictability of the environment. Rain could start suddenly, wind could shift smoke, animals could approach camps, upright sleepers could adjust instantly, lie-down sleepers had to fully wake. Again, upright sleep favoured adaptability, and adaptability reduces stress. Now consider illness and injury. Ancient people often slept upright when sick or hurt. Breathing was easier, coughing was less severe, pain was easier to manage. Modern medicine now recommends elevated sleep for many conditions. Ancient people already knew this, not scientifically, but experientially. Sleeping upright kept airways open, reduced pressure on the chest, allowed easier breathing. This mattered in smoky environments. Fire smoke filled shelters. Upright posture helped lungs cope. Modern humans rarely face this, but the body still responds the same way. And here's something subtle. Sleeping upright also protected the abdomen. When lying flat, organs shift differently. Upright posture reduces pressure. Ancient diets were heavy, fibrous, slow to digest. Upright rest supported digestion. Again, practical sleep, not luxury sleep. Now let's talk about fear more deeply. Fear is not always loud. Sometimes fear is quiet vigilance. Ancient people lived with this constantly. Sleeping upright allowed fear to soften without disappearing. The body did not panic. It trusted its ability to respond. This trust is crucial. Fear decreases when the body feels capable. Upright posture made the body feel capable. Modern sleep often removes that feeling. We immobilize ourselves, and some nervous systems respond with anxiety. Ancient sleep avoided that trap. Another important detail is that ancient people rarely slept deeply for long periods during dangerous times. Light sleep dominated. Deep sleep happened in safer moments. This flexibility protected survival. Upright sleep belonged to the lighter layers. It was not meant to replace deep sleep. It complemented it. Modern sleep culture tries to force deep sleep every night. Ancient sleep allowed variation, and variation supported safety. Now think about seasonal danger. Winter brought cold. Summer brought insects. Certain times brought predators. Sleep posture adapted. Upright sleep allowed quick adaptation. Lie-down sleep required commitment. Ancient people chose flexibility. And here's something modern people rediscover unintentionally. People often sleep upright when anxious, on couches, in chairs, with pillows propped. They don't plan it. The body chooses it. It's not a mistake, it's instinct. Ancient people trusted that instinct. They didn't override it. They followed it, and because they followed it, sleep worked even in harsh conditions. Now, as we approach the next part, we begin to see a pattern. Upright sleeping was not random. It was not primitive. It was intelligent. It balanced rest and safety, awareness and recovery, mind and body. By now, we've seen how ancient sleep was shaped by safety, how posture kept the body ready, how light sleep protected awareness, how upright rest balanced danger and recovery. But there was another quiet force guiding everything. Time. Not time measured by clocks, but time felt by the body. Ancient people lived by light. Sunrise and sunset were not just moments in the day, they were signals. When the sun disappeared, the body slowed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, gradually. Darkness did not mean sleep immediately, it meant transition. Firelight replaced sunlight. Movement softened. Voices dropped. The nervous system followed. Ancient evenings were long and slow. And this is where upright rest became important again. Before true sleep arrived, people rested. They sat, they leaned, they paused. This was not wasted time. It was preparation. The body was easing into night. Modern humans skip this phase. We jump from brightness to darkness, from activity to bed. Ancient people drifted, and upright rest lived in that drift. The first part of the night was not for deep sleep. It was for settling, digesting food, cooling the body, letting thoughts unwind. Upright posture supported this. It prevented the body from falling too quickly into deep unconsciousness. The nervous system likes gradual change. Ancient sleep respected that. The first sleep came naturally, not forced, and when it ended, the rhythm continued. The middle of the night was not treated as a problem. It was part of time's design. People woke because their bodies expected to. They rested upright again, quietly, patiently, waiting for the second sleep to arrive. And then, as darkness thinned, sleep lightened again. Upright posture returned naturally. People woke before sunrise, not jolted, not alarmed, but aware, ready. This rhythm shaped hormones. Melatonin rose slowly. Cortisol rose gently near morning. There were no sharp spikes, no sudden demands. Modern sleep disrupts this. Artificial light confuses the body. Screens delay melatonin. Alarms spike cortisol. The body panics. Ancient sleep avoided this. Upright rest acted like a buffer, a gentle step between states. Another overlooked detail is how ancient people related to night itself. Night was not something to conquer, it was something to move through. Darkness had texture. Different hours felt different. Early night felt safe. Deep night felt quiet. Pre-dawn felt alert. Upright rest fit perfectly into these shifts. It allowed the body to respond to changing darkness. Modern sleep treats night as uniform, 8 hours or nothing. Ancient sleep treated night as layered, and upright sleeping belonged to those layers. Another important factor was seasonal change. In winter, nights were long. Deep sleep did not last the entire darkness. People rested in stages. Upright pauses filled the extra hours. In summer, nights were short. Upright rest helped people adapt quickly. The body did not rely on one position. It adjusted. Ancient people did not fight the night. They flowed with it. Now think about modern insomnia. Much of it comes from fighting time, trying to sleep too early, trying to sleep too late, trying to force rest when the body isn't ready. Ancient sleep removed this pressure. If you weren't sleepy, you rested, upright. If sleep came later, that was fine. Rest still counted. This reduced anxiety. Reduced anxiety improved sleep, and posture supported this mindset. Upright rest doesn't demand unconsciousness. It allows stillness. Stillness is often enough. Another subtle detail is how ancient people experienced boredom. They were comfortable with it. Silence did not need to be filled. Upright rest encouraged quiet observation, listening to wind, fire crackling, distant sounds. This sensory gentleness calmed the brain. Modern brains are overstimulated. Upright rest can feel uncomfortable at first. Not physically, mentally. But ancient people were trained for it, from childhood. Their nervous systems knew how to settle without distraction. This made sleep easier. Now consider this. Ancient people rarely asked, "Am I sleeping enough?" They asked, "Am I rested enough?" Big difference. Upright rest counted as rest. Light sleep counted. Pauses counted. Modern sleep culture dismisses these, but the body doesn't. The body recovers in layers. Ancient people understood this intuitively, and upright sleeping belonged to those layers. It filled the spaces between deep sleep, and because it filled them gently, deep sleep felt safer. Now here's something important. Upright rest also protected sleep timing. People didn't oversleep. They didn't sink too deeply for too long. This kept rhythms stable. Modern oversleeping can disrupt cycles. Ancient upright sleep prevented that. It kept the body aligned with dawn. Another forgotten truth is that ancient people trusted morning. They didn't dread waking. They expected it. Upright posture supported easy waking. There was no struggle to rise. The body was already there. This reduced morning stress. Modern sleep often creates a shock at waking. Ancient sleep softened it. And now we arrive at a quiet realization. Ancient sleep worked because it respected time, not forcing it, not compressing it, not fighting it. Upright sleep fit into this respect. It was flexible. It adapted to the hour. And now we reach a turning point. Not a single moment, not one invention, but a gradual shift that quietly changed how humans sleep forever. The shift toward control. For most of human history, sleep adapted to life. Then, slowly, life began adapting to sleep. An upright rest was one of the first things to fade. The change didn't happen because upright sleep failed. It happened because society changed. As communities grew larger, safety changed. Walls replaced watchfulness. Doors replaced awareness. Night became less dangerous. And when danger fades, the body changes its priorities. Deep sleep becomes possible, longer, heavier. People no longer needed to wake quickly. Readiness mattered less. Comfort mattered more. This is when horizontal sleep began to dominate, but not immediately. At first, beds were rare. They were symbols, status markers, raised platforms, soft materials, private spaces. Only the wealthy slept fully horizontal. Most people still rested upright part of the night, still paused, still leaned, still adapted. But something new entered the human mind. Expectation. Sleep was no longer just rest. It became something special, something idealized, something to perfect, and expectations change behavior. When people began believing that lying flat was better, they started forcing it. Even when their bodies weren't ready, even when their minds resisted. Upright rest became lesser, a sign of poverty, a sign of illness, a sign of age. The cultural story shifted. Sleep positions became ranked, and once ranking appears, anxiety follows. Another force accelerated this change. Artificial light. At first, candles, then oil lamps, then gas, then electricity. Night lost its authority. Darkness no longer controlled the rhythm. Humans did. People stayed awake longer, much longer. But their bodies didn't evolve as fast as their technology. Melatonin release was delayed. Sleep pressure built unevenly. And when people finally lay down, they expected instant sleep. Upright rest used to absorb this delay. Now it was removed. The body had nowhere to soften, so sleep became fragile. Another shift happened quietly. Privacy. Ancient sleep was communal. Shared spaces, shared sounds, shared rhythms. Upright sleep worked well here. You could rest without fully disappearing. You could respond if needed. Modern sleep moved behind doors, alone, silent, private. This changed the psychology. Sleep became isolated, and isolation amplifies the mind. Thoughts grow louder in silence. Upright rest once balanced this. Now the mind had nowhere to rest except full sleep, and when full sleep didn't arrive, frustration took over. Then came schedules, industrial time, work hours, school bells, shift changes. Sleep was no longer guided by fatigue. It was guided by obligation. People had to sleep at specific times, whether ready or not. Upright rest had been flexible. It allowed partial rest outside strict windows. Modern sleep removed that flexibility. Everything was pushed into one block, night, and that block became precious, fragile, easy to ruin. Now add beds becoming softer, mattresses thicker, pillows higher, surfaces more forgiving. Comfort increased, but adaptability decreased. The body stopped adjusting. It expected uniformity. Ancient bodies were used to variation. Modern bodies became sensitive. Small discomforts felt intolerable. Upright rest, once normal, now felt strange, unfamiliar. The nervous system rejected it, not because it was bad, but because it was forgotten. Then came medicalization. Sleep was measured, studied, labelled. Normal sleep, abnormal sleep. Positions were prescribed. Hours were prescribed. Deviation became pathology. Upright sleeping was no longer neutral. It became a symptom of reflux, of aging, of illness. The narrative hardened. And when narratives harden, behavior follows. People stopped listening to their bodies. They followed rules, even when the rules didn't fit. Another important shift was productivity culture. Sleep became fuel, something to optimize, something to maximize. Deep sleep was praised, light sleep dismissed, rest without unconsciousness ignored. Upright rest vanished completely from value, but the body never forgot it. It just stopped being allowed. This is why, even today, people accidentally fall asleep upright. On couches, on planes, in chairs. The body remembers. The nervous system recognizes safety in semi-upright positions, but the mind resists, because it was taught to. Now here's the paradox. As sleep became more controlled, sleep problems increased. Insomnia rose. Anxiety around sleep grew. People became afraid of not sleeping correctly. Ancient sleep never had this problem, because it wasn't fragile, it was distributed. Upright rest absorbed uncertainty. Modern sleep concentrates it, and concentration creates pressure. Another subtle loss was tolerance for waking. Waking became failure. In ancient times, waking was normal, expected, used. Now, waking means something went wrong, and that belief alone activates stress hormones. Upright rest once softened waking. Now waking shocks the system. Another quiet change was posture during the day. Ancient people sat differently, squatting, leaning, resting dynamically. Modern humans sit rigidly. Chairs train the body to collapse, not support. So when people try upright sleep today, their muscles fatigue quickly. Ancient posture was active. Modern posture is passive. This makes upright rest feel harder now, not because it is wrong, but because the body has lost the skill. And yet, despite all these changes, upright sleep never disappeared completely. It survived in edges, in sickness, in travel, in exhaustion, when the body needs safety, when breathing matters, when control is lost. The body returns to ancient wisdom without asking permission. By now, one question may be forming quietly in your mind. If upright sleeping faded because society changed, Why does it still work so well when modern sleep fails? Why do people with anxiety sleep better in chairs? Why do sick people instinctively sit up? Why do so many fall asleep on planes and cars, on couches, even when they can't sleep in bed? The answer is not comfort, it is regulation. Upright sleep speaks directly to the nervous system, and the nervous system decides when sleep is allowed. Modern sleep problems are rarely about beds, they're about safety. The body must feel safe before it lets go. An upright posture provides a unique kind of safety, not total surrender, not total alertness, a middle state. Ancient people lived in this middle state often. Modern humans rarely do. When the body reclines fully, it commits. Heart rate slows deeply. Muscles release fully. Breathing changes. This is fine when the nervous system is calm. But when anxiety is present, this surrender feels risky. The body resists. Upright posture changes the equation. The spine remains active. The chest stays open. The head is supported but elevated. The body feels held, not exposed. The nervous system interprets this as controlled rest, not vulnerability. That's why people with panic disorder often sleep better upright. The body knows it can wake quickly if needed. This reduces background threat, and reduced threat allows sleep. Ancient people didn't analyze this. They lived it. Their sleep evolved around nervous system regulation, not optimization. Now consider breathing. Breathing patterns change dramatically between horizontal and upright positions. Upright posture keeps airways open. It reduces pressure on the diaphragm. It prevents the collapse of soft tissues. This matters more than people realize. When breathing feels restricted, the body does not sleep deeply. It stays vigilant. Ancient environments were dusty, smoky, cold. Upright sleep protected breathing. Modern people rediscover this during illness. Congestion, reflux, coughing. The body chooses upright because breathing equals safety, and safety equals sleep. Another factor is digestion. Ancient people ate late, heavy meals, simple foods. Upright rest prevented reflux. It reduced discomfort. A comfortable gut is a calm nervous system. Modern people experience this again after large meals. They don't lie flat. They lean back, instinctively. The body remembers. Now let's talk about motion. Ancient sleep was not static. People shifted, rocked, adjusted, even while upright. This micro-movement kept muscles from stiffening. It prevented deep pressure points. Modern mattresses remove movement. The body sinks. Pressure accumulates. This can increase subconscious tension. Upright rest allows subtle adjustments. The body never fully locks in. This is calming. Now add sound. Ancient nights were not silent. They were low-level noisy. Wind, fire, animals, voices. The nervous system adapted to this. Upright sleep works well in sound. You don't need total unconsciousness. You rest through awareness. Modern silence amplifies thought. Upright posture reduces thought loops because the body is not fully disengaged. Another powerful element is orientation. When upright, the body knows where it is in space. The inner ear stays oriented. This reduces disorientation. Flat sleep can sometimes trigger vertigo, panic, or subconscious fear, especially in anxious individuals. Upright rest keeps spatial awareness intact. The brain feels grounded. This matters deeply. Ancient sleep respected orientation. People often slept near walls, leaning, supported. Modern sleep floats in space, centered beds, no reference points. This can feel subtly unsafe. Now consider heart rate variability. Upright posture creates gentle variability. The heart does not drop suddenly. It eases. This smoother transition is easier for stressed nervous systems. Ancient life-trained hearts to rest in motion. Modern hearts rest abruptly, and abrupt changes trigger resistance. Another overlooked factor is the eyes. When upright, The eyes often remain partially open, not fully closed. This reduces the sensation of losing awareness. For anxious minds, this is critical. Ancient people did not require darkness. Firelight allowed partial vision. Modern blackout conditions can feel threatening to some nervous systems. Upright rest allows light sleep, literally and metaphorically. Now think about dreams. Ancient sleep was lighter. Dreams were shorter, more fragmented, less immersive. This reduced nightmare intensity. Modern deep sleep can produce vivid dreams. For anxious people, this becomes disruptive. Upright sleep limits dream depth. The brain stays closer to waking. This feels safer. Now let's talk about control. Modern sleep culture teaches surrender. Let go completely. But some nervous systems cannot do this safely. Ancient sleep allowed partial control. You rested without disappearing. Upright posture preserves agency, and agency reduces fear. Another reason upright sleep works today is because it lowers expectations. People don't expect perfect sleep upright. They allow rest, and that permission alone often produces better sleep. Ancient people never chased perfection. They accepted usefulness, and usefulness is enough. Now here's something crucial. Upright sleep is not about replacing beds. It's about restoring options. Ancient people had many sleep states. Modern humans have one. That's the problem. The body thrives on choice. When choice disappears, stress increases. Upright sleep returns choice, and choice calms the nervous system. This is why recliners help, why meditation chairs work, why monks slept seated, why sailors rested leaning, why guards nodded upright. This posture is ancient, but the need is modern, especially in a world of constant alertness, always on, always connected, always stimulated. The nervous system never shuts off. Upright rest allows partial shutdown, and partial shutdown is often enough. Now, one more insight. Ancient people trusted fatigue. They didn't fight it. When tired, they rested, however they could. Modern people fight fatigue. They push, then crash. Upright sleep fits naturally into gentle fatigue, not exhaustion. It works earlier, before collapse. That's why people fall asleep upright accidentally. The body takes what it can. And finally, there is humility. Ancient sleep accepted limitation. Not every night was perfect. Not every rest was deep. Modern sleep demands perfection, and that demand breaks sleep. Upright rest does not promise miracles. It offers kindness, and kindness is powerful. By now, you may notice something different. Not a technique, not an instruction, but a shift, a quiet understanding. That sleep was never meant to be forced, never meant to be perfected, never meant to be measured so tightly that it becomes fragile. Ancient people did not conquer sleep. They cooperated with it. They listened. They adapted. They allowed rest to take many forms, and upright sleeping was never a strange exception. It was a reminder that the body knows how to rest even when the mind is unsure. Over these parts, we've seen how posture mattered, how surfaces mattered, how rhythm mattered, how the nervous system mattered more than comfort, how safety mattered more than softness. And now, at the end, the most important lesson appears. Sleep is not a destination. It is a state. And states can be entered from many doors. Ancient people didn't walk through one door every night. They rested by fire. They leaned against walls. They sat with their back supported. They slept lightly. They woke gently. They slept again. Their nights were not rigid, and because they were not rigid, they were resilient. Modern sleep is brittle. One bad night feels like failure. One interruption feels catastrophic. Ancient sleep had no such fear, because rest was woven through life itself, and upright sleep was part of that weave. It allowed rest without complete shutdown. It allowed recovery without disappearance. It allowed sleep without surrender. That balance is what many modern nervous systems are missing, especially in a world that never truly goes quiet. Ancient nights ended when the sun rose. Modern nights glow. Screens, notifications, artificial urgency. The nervous system never hears the signal that it is safe to stop. Upright rest offers a compromise. It tells the body, you can rest now. You don't have to vanish. You can stay aware. You can let go a little. And sometimes a little is enough. Another forgotten truth is that ancient people trusted their bodies. They did not label every sensation as a problem. Discomfort was information, not danger. They adjusted slowly. They listened. Modern humans interpret discomfort as failure, as threat, as something to eliminate immediately. That tension alone keeps sleep away. Upright sleep works partly because it resets expectations. You're not trying to sleep perfectly, you're simply resting, and rest often becomes sleep when it is not chased. Ancient people also understood that sleep did not belong only to night. Short rests mattered, pauses mattered, stillness mattered. They leaned, they sat, they closed their eyes briefly. Their bodies recovered in pieces, so night carried less pressure. Modern humans place all hope on one stretch of darkness. When that fails, everything feels broken. But nothing is broken. The body is just asking for flexibility, choice, permission. And that is the true legacy of upright sleeping. Not that everyone should sleep sitting up, but that sleep has always had options, and when options return, anxiety loosens. Now let's bring this home. If tonight, or some night in the future, you find yourself unable to sleep, instead of fighting, instead of forcing, instead of measuring time, you might remember something ancient. You might sit back, support your spine, let your head rest gently, not fully lying down, not fully awake, just resting, breathing, listening, allowing. You don't need to decide what kind of sleep this is. You don't need to label it. Your body already understands, and if sleep comes, it comes. If it doesn't, rest still counts. Ancient people knew this deeply. Rest was never wasted. And finally, remember this. Your body is not modern. Your nervous system is not digital. It is ancient. It learned to rest in caves, by fires, on stone, against wood, under open skies. Beds changed, schedules changed, but the body remembers. And sometimes, the body sleeps best when we stop telling it how. Tonight, you don't need to fix sleep. You don't need to improve it. You don't need to optimize it. You only need to allow rest in whatever form feels safe. That is how it worked then. And that is why, sometimes, it still works now. If you've been listening from somewhere specific tonight, your bed, a couch, a chair, a quiet room, or somewhere unexpected, take a moment and share it in the comments. Where in the world are you resting right now? And wherever you are, may your rest be gentle. May your mind feel safe. May your body remember what it already knows. Good night.